Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged match, and this is going to be a review for Smackdown for October 4th, 2019, the season premiere. If you've been a fan of wrestling, this has been a great week for you. Started off with the season premiere of Raw on USA. They made it feel very big, very important. Then you had the clash between AEW and NXT on Wednesday, and they both did amazing shows. Like, honestly, both you can take nothing away from them. They were great. And so now that leads you into the end of the week with Smackdown, which is now premiering on Fox. And Fox, again, they made it feel important. They made it feel like a big, big, big show. They even started a half hour early with a blue carpet pre-show where they did some interviews. They had some of the Fox cast interviewing wrestlers, New Day and Paul Heyman. And you saw a lot of familiar faces: Sting, Goldberg, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley, The Fiend was there, Booker T, Maria Menounos, the Bella Twins. So, a lot of big names to make it feel big. And then you move into the main show, and a couple of things I want to comment on first. The stage setup was amazing. It looks fantastic. The entryway coming out from gorilla position, kind of like Raw, but more to it. And, you know, same thing, they're able to do the pyro again. They have the smoke for Becky Lynch. All these like cool things they can do with the entrance now. The commentary team was Michael Cole and Corey Graves, and those were the only two there. So, don't know if they're going to keep just those two or what, but it was cool. And then they had AC/DC, Are You Ready for a Good Time playing, so apparently that's cool. They had to pay the rights for that theme. But really, really cool, man. Vince and Stephanie McMahon come out, and they just kind of do a brief introduction. You know, this is Fox, this is Smackdown. And they run right into the show, which is Becky Lynch comes out, and she talks about being the first person to start Smackdown on Fox. And she's interrupted by Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, of course, doing his heel stick. And he gets interrupted by The Rock. Dwayne Johnson comes out. Of course, there's a massive pop for him. You know, it is SmackDown. It's his show. So it's only right that he has the opening segment. So he comes down. Of course, he's making fun of Baron Corbin. He's just, you know, throwing daggers at him. Really, really cool. And then him and Becky Lynch commence to whooping his ass. And it made everybody pop. It made everybody laugh during the promo itself. And you couldn't have asked for a better opening. The Rock, he just knows how to control an audience. He's got a great sense of humor. So it all just works. He is still perfect for the business, honestly. So very, very cool opening. And then you get Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. And while it was a very good match, unfortunately it was also very predictable. And that's the one thing I hate about this is, I've said before, they are not going to put anybody over Charlotte Flair. And that was the same thing this time. It was a really good match, a lot of good back and forth, a lot of good spots. But at the end of the day, Charlotte Flair puts the figure eight on Bayley. Bayley taps out. I mean, they're all amazing women. They all are. But it's just come too predictable at this point. If Charlotte Flair is in a match, she's not going to outright lose. And that's just it. So, but it was a good match. Really, really, really good opening match. Then Aaron Andrews from Fox Sports interviews the New Day. Kofi Kingston, of course, talking about him being the underdog versus Brock Lesnar, and he's gonna, you know, overcome. So, not bad, not bad. And then you get a Firefly Funhouse bit. Seth Rollins comes to the ring for a match with Shinsuke. He's interrupted by Bray Wyatt, who's on the Titantron. It was alright. It was alright. It was a little better than last time. You had all the puppets, you know, they're being introduced to the new crowd on Fox. And then they're talking about, you know, Ramblin' Rabbit being a Seth Rollins fan. So they stick him in a mock cage with the Buzzard. The Buzzard tears him apart. And Bray Wyatt's like, history is going to repeat itself, basically. And so the match ensues with Seth Rollins and Shinsuke. It was great for the time it lasted, which wasn't very long. The lights go out. Bray Wyatt's little creepy music hits. Lights come back on. Seth Rollins is already up the ramp, and that's where Bray Wyatt meets him with a mandible claw and throws him off the stage. And so that was that. decent segment building towards Hell in a Cell. Still really don't know much about Hell in a Cell. I mean, we've got like 3 or 4 matches announced, and that's really it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. After that, you have Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon in a ladder match. Of course, the contract that's going to terminate the loser is hanging above on, the chain. And so, Shane McMahon goes out with a bang, man. I mean, say what you will about Shane McMahon. I've always liked him. I don't think that he's really had a match that wasn't entertaining. And he had all of his, famous spots, jumping off the turnbuckle onto the commentator table where Kevin Owens was, doing the coast to coast with a ladder propped in front of Kevin Owens. And you could tell he hit hard when he did the coast to coast, man. He was holding his head pretty bad. Kevin Owens did a spot where he had the ladder kind of posted on the ring apron and the barricade, and Shane McMahon was on top, and he jumps off the top rope onto the ladder, and you could tell it hurt the hell out of both of them, man. I mean, they were both crawling around in pain for a few. Hell of a spot there. At the end, he grabs Shane McMahon as he's trying to crawl up the ladder, power bombs him onto another ladder set up in the corner, and then he reaches the briefcase, and then after the match, he grabs McMahon, says, "Hey Shane, guess what? You're fired," stuns him. Perfect Steve Austin style moment. Very, very cool. And now hopefully, this is the second time they've had a match that was supposed to end Shane McMahon's WWE reign. Let's see if it actually sticks this time. It was a really good moment though, it really was. Good match. I mean, you can't say anything bad about it, honestly. They went at it. Then you get Caleb Braxton interviews Paul Heyman, who is, of course, selling that Brock Lesnar is going to beat Kofi Kingston. Says it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. We'll get to that. Then I thought this was kind of weird. The next match was an 8-man tag. It was Braun Strowman, Heavy Machinery, and The Miz versus AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode. And I'm guessing they just wanted to get these faces on the program, because, it's just kind of a unique thrown together type of 8-man tag match. And it was fine for what it was. They had the usual spots. The zigzag, of course. Braun Strowman running around the ring. And then toward the end of the match, pretty much everybody is outside of the ring. And Tyson Fury is literally front row in the audience. And so Braun Strowman, he acts like, puts his hands up like he wants to box Tyson Fury. If you don't know, he's a boxer. Really good one, too. And so Strowman goes back in. I forget who he pins, but he pins somebody. And then Tyson Fury jumps over the barricade, and a bunch of security are holding him back and, saying you can't. And I honestly don't know if he was supposed to jump the barricade or not. Because it was a swarm of security immediately. But either way, it was a really cool moment. Really was. Braun Strowman just sitting there laughing, and it was cool. It was good. After that, you get Roman Reigns and Rowan in a lumberjack match. You had Daniel Bryan on commentary. And again, I think this was everything you would expect from this match. Hard hitting, going crazy. Good spots though. Luke Harper comes down. He gets involved. Daniel Bryan hits Luke Harper with the knee. Roman Reigns has his spot where he dives over the top rope and takes everybody out. So it was all really, really good. After Daniel Bryan hits Harper with the knee, Rowan grabs Daniel Bryan like he's going to do the claw slam, and then Roman Reigns spears him, gets the win. Roman Reigns takes it. So it was really, really cool. A lot of good spots in the match. And that leads you to the finish, which is, of course, Brock Lesnar and Kofi Kingston. And I'm sure there are going to be points of this that people are going to be kind of disappointed about. But honestly, it was exactly what it needed to be. Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston. This match lasted about 30 seconds. Kofi Kingston runs in. Brock Lesnar picks him up, F5, wins the belt. Brock Lesnar's your new WWE champion. Then Rey Mysterio's music hits. And I gotta say, I've heard the rumor, but I didn't really believe it. But Rey Mysterio comes out with Cain Velasquez. That was badass. So Cain Velasquez, if you don't know, he's an actual UFC fighter, at least he used to be, when Brock Lesnar was in the UFC. And Cain Velasquez really screwed up Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was ketchup after that match. So this was a legitimate moment where you got two legitimate badasses, two legitimate UFC fighters, guys that you do not want to mess with on the street. And now this looks more legit than it ever has. You're on Fox Sports, you've got two massive UFC fighters, and they're going head to head. And so that was a really great moment. Now, it's funny because people are talking about bringing legitimacy to wrestling as a sport, as an art form, whatever you want to call it. This brought legitimacy to the fighting aspect of it. Like, no matter what you say, Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar legitimized the fighting. That's it. No matter how scripted or fake or whatever you want to call it, you know these guys could tear somebody up in real life. So that was awesome, man. I actually marked out at the end of that. I was super stoked to see that. So it looks like Cain Velasquez maybe is got a contract with WWE now. You would have to believe so. Maybe he's just doing a one-off, but I've heard, like, for a while that, you know, he's kind of toyed around with wrestling. So it's very cool, man. It's very cool to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, an absolutely stellar show. Really, truly a stellar show. Now, that wasn't perfect, and actually there were a couple of hiccups when it comes to interviews and a couple of segments there, and maybe that's just because of the new way they're doing things. I don't know. It was very small stuff, but it was, overall, it was just an amazing show. It really, really was. You had a really great start. They kept showing, you know, legends and, you know, familiar faces all night long. So it was really cool. I mean, good women's match to kick it off. You had Seth Rollins and The Fiend working into Hell in a Cell. KO and Shane O'Mac, you finally got rid of that bullshit storyline, so that's awesome. The 8-man tag was there, but it was cool because they had the Tyson Fury thing, so that brought some intrigue to that. I thought Rowan and Reigns, I'll add Harper and Bryan to that too, did a really good job with that segment too. So this was a really, really, really strong opening. This was a great season premiere, and I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Not completely perfect, but just about as close as you can get. It was phenomenal. So an 8 out of 10, 2 9 out of 10s, and now a 9.5 out of 10. That's a good week for wrestling. That's a really good week for wrestling. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about this, especially Cain Velasquez. What do you think about him coming in? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Kaged Nation, out.